Welcome to RSG Today I Effed Up, where we learn that gaming can cause your dad to punch a stripper. Our first post comes from Kita Moo. Today I effed up by getting good at a game to impress a guy I had a crush on. And for context, OP here is a woman. I used to play an MMO with a bunch of people I knew in real life. Out of all of them, I was the most interested in PvP, but sucked at it. One day, a new guy shows up. He used to play, but stopped for a few years. Everyone starts talking about how he was basically a legend, a god at 1v1s, was one of the former top players in the game, was so inhumanly good he got mistaken for a bot, etc, etc. I immediately developed an awkward crush on him. He heard I was into PvP and challenged me to a 1v1 where he promptly kicked my ass. Then he spent a lot of time condescendingly giving me tips on how to improve and said he would show me the ropes. Being a dork with a crush, I was so grateful for any attention he gave me. His idea of teaching me was basically beating me over and over again. After a few days of this, he got bored and stopped paying attention to me. I was embarrassed that I was so bad and kept losing, so I thought if I could impress him, he would spend time in-game with me again. I spent a stupid amount of time practicing on the side and researching. I'm talking like 6 hours on weekdays and 10 hours or more on weekends. I literally lost weight because I stopped snacking on the side and ate the minimum amount at mealtimes. So after like 10 months of non-stop playing, I improved a stupid crazy amount. Managed to jokingly convince him to duel me, and I beat him. He thought it was a fluke and demanded a rematch. So we played again and I beat him again. He got so mad he changed his build to exactly counter mine and he beat me. I was so happy because I thought he was into it. So I changed my build to counter his and beat him. And it turned into this stupid back and forth. I was having the time of my life. I thought I was showing off my improvement to a guy I liked. I learned theory crafting, I learned how to play properly, etc, etc. Meanwhile, he was effing raging his head off on his side of the screen. After a lot of back and forth killing each other in turns, he finally says he's done and logs off. I had no idea what happened and figured real life things were going on. Anyways, he didn't log back on for a while and I heard from a mutual friend that he quit the game. He claimed he only came back temporarily from a break and needed to focus on real life job stuff or something. I did not connect that with beating him. I just thought the timing was bad and I was sad I wouldn't be able to see him around anymore. He never logged back on again. A few months later, we had another in real life hangout and he basically ignored me. Then made a few pointed comments about how he didn't like girls who were as into gaming as he was, and that girls who liked games too much were basically guys and he wasn't into guys. And that's when I finally realized he was mad I beat him, and he literally never returned to play again. And after a few more years, I quit gaming. And funnily enough, I heard from our mutual friend again that that's when he decided to start playing again. Too long, didn't read. I got good at a game to impress a guy I liked, beat him, and turns out he didn't like girls who were into gaming and also quit the game. It's just funny that how many gamer guys actually do have an ego. For some reason, losing to a girl becomes the biggest thing. I don't understand it. This day and age, everyone's behind a keyboard anyways. If you can use your keyboard, you can use your mouse, you can use your controller. It doesn't really matter if it's a girl or a guy. Y'all are on even playing field anyways. It just sucks that his ego kind of got butthurt from that. I would say though, OP, you probably avoided a bullet with that one, because if that had worked out, at some point his ego would have gotten hurt, because it just seems like, well, you get good at things and he decides I'm gonna quit. Our next story comes from the Black Brad Pitt. Today I effed up by making my dad punch a stripper in Grand Theft Auto and tearfully ask God for forgiveness in front of my entire family. When I was young, My brothers and I snuck a copy of San Andreas into the house. We spent days holed up in our basement, taking turns playing, and down there, my parents didn't bother us too much. In order to get tons of money for guns, we had yet to figure out my parents' dial-up password, so cheats weren't a thing for us yet. We would go to the strip club and stand on the stage, absorbing the money dudes threw at the women, and let the game just sit for 10 to 20 minutes. We had to be careful though, because sometimes the strippers would do a move and bump into CJ, who was the main character, and the bouncers would shoot the place up. One day, while I was playing, my mom yelled down to the basement at us to get ready. We were going to Pizza Hut. In a stroke of genius, I drove to the Grand Theft Auto strip club, got on the stage, and then turned the TV off, and we left. It was to be the heist of the century. My dad, however, was at church at this time, practicing for a gospel concert he was singing in. He always filmed the practices so he could take notes at home upon playback, and this time was no different. While my mom and my brothers and I were still at the hut, he arrived at home and plugged his camcorder into the VCR. We had just one VCR and it was connected to the basement TV. Back at the hut, my mom gets a phone call. She puts her napkin down and slowly looks around the table at us and says, "Okay," a few times into the phone in this really calculating specific way that she always did when she knew us kids were in trouble before we did. Naturally, it was at this point we kids knew we were in trouble. For what though, we didn't know. After a very quiet minivan ride, we get home and my mom says, "Boys, why don't we go down to the basement? Your dad wants to show you his gospel practice downstairs." It was then, at this point, we knew why we were in trouble. So we drag our feet down the stairs, and lo and behold, my dad is sitting on the couch, TV on, a stripper's polygonal titty swung stiffly back and forth on screen to En Vogue's My Lovin', with CJ standing mere inches away collecting money. My dad starts in, "Boys, I don't even know where to begin. This PlayStation was a blessing to you for Christmas, and this is how you repay us? By breaking our trust?" He's holding the controller up now, gesticulating with it. Here I am, practicing to bring glory to God, but he was cut off as he inadvertently squeezed the controller, causing CJ to punch the stripper. My entire family stands in silence, watching together as the bouncers in the strip club shoot the place up for what seems like an eternity. After the shooting stops and CJ appears in front of the hospital, I look back and see my mom silently weeping into her hand. I look at my dad as a single tear rolls down his cheek, and he prays under his breath. After another eternity of silence, without a word, my dad bends down, disconnects the PlayStation, walks back to the family computer, disconnects it, goes to his car, and drives away. For the next 4 months, he kept the PS2 and computer locked in his office at work. It was one of my favorite memories of growing up. I miss my brother. Too long, didn't read, wasn't allowed to play Grand Theft Auto growing up. Of course, got caught playing it. My dad interrupted his own lecture by accidentally punching a stripper and immediately asked for God's forgiveness. Now, Obi added a couple of edits, which I'm not going to read directly. I'll just give you some context. He said that his family were Christians, but they are not like overzealot or anything. He became an atheist and him and his parents get along fine. So there's nothing in that. And then I also got confused with the "I miss my brothers" thing. His brothers are not dead. They're just spread around the country, so he doesn't see them anymore. So the family is still fine after this. So it is just kind of a wholesome, non-wholesome kind of story. But seriously, I'm just picturing it where he's like trying to be all serious and give that stern dad lecture, and then all of a sudden in the background there's a guy smacks the stripper and then causes commotion in a strip club. That does undermine the lecture just a wee bit. Our next story comes from Mightier Thor. Today I effed up by being good at a video game. It's the late 80s. I am at the local rock club playing Arkanoid. I was a regular at the club and had gotten pretty good at the game. Even I didn't realize how good. A gal comes up behind me and says, if I beat you at this game, you have to buy me a drink. But if you beat me, I'll buy you a drink. Of course, the right move here is to stop playing, declare you win, and go buy her a drink. This is the wrong sub for that. Maybe even the wrong site for that. That makes no sense, I think. I bet she isn't even good at this game. I don't even drink much, but the prospect of a free drink from a gal was all the incentive I needed. I crushed it. Played longer than I ever played before. Okay, it's your turn. Looks around. Where the F did she go? I'm still wondering. Too long didn't read. Today I effed up by being competitive instead of not an idiot. Being a gamer growing up, being oblivious to signs is something I think inherent within many of us. It's just more straightforward in games, especially when you get to pick the dialogue and everything. When it happens in real life and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, I don't know how else to respond except just very direct, oh, she wants a better drink. Let's go with the drink. I unfortunately sympathize way too much with this. Have you ever been so into a game that you've been completely oblivious to the things going on around you? If so, post them down in the comments and you might see them on a future video as well. And then, kind of on the opposite spectrum, we had this comment down below from Let You Down. That reminds me of a time a girl used the old me showing her how to play pool trick to cozy up on a second date. There was this old dude there playing for money and just completely cleaning the clocks of all the challengers. He asked me to play a game. I knew there was a big discrepancy in our skill levels despite some nice shots I made during our quote-unquote teaching, and politely declined, saying I was on a date. I played pool weekly with some other managers I worked with after work, so I wasn't terrible, but I recognized that this guy was at a skill level where he played in and won tournaments. He even did a few really nice trick shots in between games. But despite that, I declined. He insisted, and the girl I was with said, no, you should play him, you're really good. So I acquiesced. I proceeded to play what was probably one of the better pool games of my life. But it was also aided by the fact that the old dude cleared most of his balls out of the way, then purposely banked a couple of shots out of the pockets to let me win. Despite a decent audience watching, I don't know if too many people noticed, because they looked very convincing. There were cheers, someone brought me a couple of drinks because I beat him, and the girl was gushing over how awesome I was at pool. I knew the old guy let me win though, because it was semi-confirmed when I looked over at him knowingly and he gave me a wink. I had never met this guy before, never spoke to him before, and he just decided to up and wingman for me on a whim to make me look better. I quietly, sneakily put the winnings and some extra on the guy's bar tab and then decided that I'll pay it forward to some other young buck the way that guy did for me. See, that's the way gaming should be. Gaming should help you actually get the girl, not like the first story where it completely blinds you to all signs. If only things were always this way. The next story is from Juba 2017. Today, I effed up by trying to install a game on my work laptop. I was so bored and tired yesterday after a long day working. We work from home, so I decided to install a good game since this laptop has the requirements unlike my terrible personal laptop. I downloaded a cracked version of a game and pressed setup. It gave me the messages, you are not allowed to perform this action and malware detected. So I disabled the antivirus. When I pressed setup again, it gave me another message. You don't have the permission. So I just gave up and deleted everything. Today, while working, I received an email from Security Operations Center saying that a malware activity has been detected on the PC, and now all my working accounts are blocked by the security team, and I was not able to finish working. My manager was on CC on the email. They gave me a link on the email saying I should do a re-imaging, which can only be done using the company's network. But I'm working from home and the company's office, which is too far from me, is currently closed. I did not expect that a small attempt to install a game would lead to this. My manager is off today and I'm expecting a terrible reaction tomorrow. We are not going back to the offices just yet, which means I will not be able to work or have my salary for the next few months. There is even a big possibility that I get fired for not sticking to the obvious rules. It is, or was, a good job with a good salary. It is very hard to find a good job, especially where I live. I didn't expect this bad thing to happen, and now I'm just like a criminal awaiting trial. Too long, didn't read. I tried to install a cracked game on my work laptop. The PC was infected with a virus. The security team blocked all my work accounts. I will likely get fired. I can definitely sympathize here. My situation is similar but opposite. I have a work laptop and I can't really put anything on there. But my personal computer is actually better. I need it for streaming and YouTube and things like that. So whenever I need a software installed on my work computer that's actually for work purposes, I have to go through all these security measures in order to do it. I've gotten to the point that it's just been lazy and I'm just like, I'll install the freaking thing on my personal computer so I don't have to go through the whole hassle of security. But I can understand wanting to put something on your computer. It is interesting that OP was able to just cancel the security request. I wish I had that. I wish I had that so much. And that was RSG Today I F'd Up. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure that you give us a subscribe. We're growing the channel here with all kinds of gaming content. Make sure you check us out on the live stream on Twitch. And with that, I Infinity with RSG signing out. Take care, guys.